Hey guys, if you don't know who I am, I'm Savia Rocks, and I help people tell their stories, stay inspired, and get educated as they find the pride of who they are within creativity, but most of all, without judgment. Join us as we talk about
You really want to leave a legacy, do something for mankind. Do something that's going to benefit not just your children, everyone else's children.
I think our job as humans is to become the person we were born and peel away the cultural stuff that was given to us, the trauma, like peel away the stuff that changed us or that was thrown on us or made us small or made us go off track.
The biggest thing I've always found is when people think they know so much, then they start knowing so little.
And I'm making the right choice, and I'm showing up for myself, and I'm showing up for what matters in life.
Sometimes I think that trauma doesn't always have to be a bad thing. I think trauma can help you make choices in your life that turn something that started bad into something beautiful. So guys, welcome to season 7 of the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks.
Hey all, hi, my name is Wizdom. I am a creative pioneer, and you are listening to the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks.
I'ma get deeper.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and today I am abundantly humbled to have Wizdom here with me. Wizdom is a pioneer and educator working in many creative industries, and the reason why I say many is we'll get into it. But first of all, Wizdom, I want to thank you so much for taking your time to come on the Us People podcast. How are you?
Good, thank you very much. Thank you so much for the invite.
You're more than welcome. So my first question, which I love to ask everyone who comes in the show, is could you tell me a bit about yourself, where you grew up, but also how that influenced you to be the person who you are today?
So I grew up in South London, originally in West Croydon, and then moved to Crystal Palace in 1990 to attend what was then the first Harris City Technology College, as they were described at the time.
Yes.
Kind of a new concept at the time of trying to have schools that had some sort of basis within business, so that there was hopefully a throughput into industry. And that sort of came about because I kind of wanted, I wanted the chance to do something new, and I knew I wasn't hugely academic. And whilst at the school, my previous school, I had a real passion for singing and had joined the choir. And then at, I think about 8 or 9, my voice went from here to here almost overnight. And nobody could really understand a word that I was saying. And in the choir with a whole heap of other young boys, this voice does not work well. So it meant that I had to stop singing, which was quite traumatic. I was like, I really, really loved it, but like I just didn't fit. So when I started Harris, a school friend of mine called Bobby Martin gave me an NWA tape. So this would be 1990. So this was, I think, their first album, or it was the Easy Does It album, one of the two. And I was introduced to hip hop and fell in love with it at a time where hip hop was very, 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 very niche, and was mainly accessible via imports. Wasn't really being played on the radio. So my whole time of Harris, I kind of really got into music. I suppose was also trying to find my own identity. My father passed away when I was 2.5. Wow. Older sister who's 10 years older than me. So I'd kind of grown up on her music. And although I was in a single parent household, my dad worked for the post office. I had a post office pension, and it meant that he kind of still provided. So although I didn't grow up with a dad, I felt like I was in a very different situation from a lot of other friends who not grown up with their fathers because their fathers weren't around.
Yes.
Even though they were alive. So I never felt like I missed. But having said that, didn't have that many other male role models. So therefore, the music became my kind of role model. Which is funny now because it's like, I remember one of the reasons why I've never smoked weed was because Dr. Dre said, even if Yella makes it a cappella, I must confess, though I don't smoke weed or cess. He then went on to produce an album called The Chronic and then hung around with Snoop Dogg for years. But thankfully, he caught me at the right time with a really positive influence. And it was sort of like, that became my thing. And while I was at school, I took part in A Midsummer Night's Dream play. And it just so happened that the whole cast found out about auditions for Brit School, which was choosing to open their year 10. Up until that point, you could only go to Brit post 16. So basically the whole cast applied. And I think of the 9 of us, I think 8 got into Brit.
Oh, wow. That's excellent.
So, we all moved over to Brit together. And obviously all knew each other. So that made it really, really easy to kind of fit in. And it was kind of there while I was at Brit that my passion for hip hop, which at the time was just about learning other people's lyrics and listening to music constantly, sort of then tricked over into writing. I think what happened was, if I remember correctly, the BNP got into a scene, and it really shocked me as a 14-year-old, and my response was to write a rhyme to it. And then I went and showed that with a friend at school who was in one of the older years and had access to the studio, got me in the studio, and I recorded my first song, and it ended up on the Brit School CD, and now I'm a rapper. It was like the first rap track to ever be on the Brit School CD. And this is it's also important to note that at that time, Brit wasn't the thing that we know it to be now. There were no famous people from it. It was all kind of starting still. So I remember when I went for my to look around the place, David Linden Hall and his band were rehearsing. But obviously he hadn't blown up yet. And then when I was in school, Natalie Floasis from Floetry was in my art class. So Marsha Ambrosia was the year above me. Yes. I was there with Andre from Damage. We were in the same DJ workshop together. Imogen Heap was actually in my jazz fusion band as the pianist, which is wild now. So Morcheeba, I think I was there at the same time as, but no Adele, no Amy Winehouse. So nobody had this feeling like, we're in Brit School, we're prepared for this future in the creative industries. Yes. But it was a really a pivotal moment for me in realizing that I had a talent. And then that's where I met up with my group, Green Jade, which I then joined the next year. And I think when I then joined Green Jade, it was, loosely a gang in Clapham. But I was kind of there as a sort of 15-year-old who was just really interested in music. And basically our Friday nights would be meeting up at Clapham, listening to 279, watching Ally McBeal, and then having a rap cipher until I could get the last bus home. And that was kind of where a lot of my growing up happened.
You know what? That sounds awesome, to be fair. No, it does. It sounds awesome, to be fair. When you think and you look back at it and you say to yourself, like you said, when things are starting up, you never know which direction things are going to turn into, or where they're going to go, or who you're going to end up meeting. But at the same time, you've managed to be with so many talented people. But the main thing is you guys were just all in there doing your own thing and just making it happen for yourself because you loved it. Whereas now, it's like I said to you even before we started recording, sometimes when people go into the music industry now, it's a lot different. I don't know if you agree with the way things are, but it's it's a lot different.
I think that the challenge that we've got now is there's an over romanticized view of
Thank
the
you.
past.
Thank you.
And I think I was coming up in hip hop in a time where there wasn't originally a lot of money in it. It's funny, I always talk about listening to like EPMD tracks, and they're talking about driving, Nissan Pathfinders. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, like, yeah, we're balling. This is long before people had access to Rolls Royce and Aston Martins and stuff. Like, it wasn't necessarily, I remember, on Jay-Z's first album, he talks about driving a Lexus IS, fully loaded IS. Do you know what I mean? Like, it changed, so, and during that period of time in the mid 90s, when it then did start to become big business and people, and as I say, absolutely, it just started out as this passion of this ability to be able to create. And then, and whilst I was at school with one of the members from the group, a guy called Jason Bradshaw, who's a year older than me, really taught me to freestyle. This was just something that's, wow, I can do this. This is, we would sit in the cafeteria and in the library and just do point at stuff, and I'd have to make up rhymes on the spot and stuff like that. And it was just, that was incredible. You then get to a point where it's like, I can see other people are making money out of this. We should do that too. And I think sometimes it's more about, I think someone over here is doing something, so I should be doing that. And then we see that a lot now with like creators, podcasting even. There was a point in time where podcasting died. Like, no one was talking about podcasts. Interestingly, podcasts have become more successful since the iPod has ceased to exist than they were when iPods, where they were created for, actually were around. Because we then found out where the money was within it and various other things. So it's interesting how things move. As someone who's passionate about hip hop, I definitely see that there has been damage done to its legacy by people now kind of just working out, if I do this, it will make money. If I talk about crime and negativity,
there you go,
as a black artist, that will make money. Even though I come from a well-adjusted household that's middle class, like, who are able to support me while I'm starting this dream, I still got to talk about guns and gangs and various other bits and pieces. And it's like, it's unfortunate, but it is sort of a symptom of the capitalist world that we live in.
It's funny because I was having a conversation with someone recently, and I said it's exactly what you said, where someone can put up something really negative, Wizdom, and get 2 million views instantly. Like, wow. Someone can say something positive to elevate your life, help save someone's life, so on and so forth, and only get 1,000 views. And it's so mad. And even we were talking about the news as well, and that's something else. This is a totally different subject, but I don't know if everybody else has noticed, which I'm sure they have, and some people just don't talk about it, where everything on the news is predominantly negative.
Well, what we found out is this. Growing up in the 90s, we became accustomed to the phrase sex sells. What we've now found out with social media is that rage engages.
Yes.
And you've got these two things now competing. I manage an artist who is a drill rock artist, female drill rock artist. And what has been eye-opening for us has been the level of engagement that you get by challenging the norm and having people want to come and have a negative argument about, there's a black girl socially appropriating rock music. It's like, dude, black people started rock music. But then you get this whole trail in the comments of people arguing for and against and why this is great and why it isn't great and everything else like that. And at first it's a bit like, this is bit off, but then you start to see the numbers go and you're getting more followers as a result of it and you're getting more engagement, and it's like, well, what do? We know that engagement is the thing that is required to be able to really monetize, again, come back to the money, off of these platforms. So, but if I let the negativity play out, we get way more engagement than we do when we just say, well, here's a really great song that you should enjoy. and is a symptom of the algorithm now, I believe, that means that we are being much more entrenched in binary points of view.
Yes.
And anyone who challenges those must be stomped upon. And because I feel like less people are interacting face to face, it feels like there is much more of an ability or a freedom to say things that traditionally, if you said it to someone's face, you'd get punched in the mouth for. And because people don't seem to have that feedback loop of, "Oh, I shouldn't have said that because I got punched in the mouth," people will say stuff that would traditionally have got them punched in the mouth.
Yes.
And I think that is an issue that we're sort of continually, I don't know how that plays out. Seeing lots of negativity around it. But again, that's how you engage now, which is kind of frightening.
I miss the days when we didn't have mobile phones, to be fair. No, I tell you why, right? I remember being younger, my friend would call my house phone and would say to me, "Savia, meet me down the road in 20 minutes. Wizdom, I was there in 20 minutes. I don't even know how I even knew the 20 minutes, but I was there in 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
the whole thing about like, how did we ever used to meet up at points before this?
Exactly that. And I didn't need to send you my PIN to tell you where I was.
Where I was. Yeah, I know what you mean.
So for me, it's changed so much, but I feel that now, because when you do a lot of research on so many people, places and things of what's going on in the world, you start to realize that although we are going forward and there is AI, which I'm sure we're going to speak about, there is also some people where they're reverting back to doing things in the old school way. Mm-hmm. Which helps them a lot. And I'm pretty old school myself. Like, I would like to write things down on paper and so on and so forth. Some people might obviously use the computer and so on, but that's fine. But for me, there is something beautiful about picking up a pen, Wizdom, for example, and writing the lyrics to your songs on that paper, or even just interview questions or whatever, because you know it comes from you internally. There is something beautiful about that. So my next question I do want to ask you is, can you define yourself as a person? But also, who do you see when you look in the mirror? But on the flip side of that question, has there ever been a time where you have looked in the mirror and not recognized the person staring back at you? How did you manage, Wizdom, to go from a person that you might not have liked to see the vision of to becoming the person that you feel or felt had purpose in the world? That is quite a lengthy question.
That's a great question. How would I define myself? Firstly, I would say that I am a creative pioneer that does see the world slightly differently, partially possibly because I'm dyslexic and possibly ADHD. But what I have found is that I am an agent of change.
Yes.
I have looked. You get to a point where you look back in your life and look at things that are reoccurring themes. I always seem to be at the beginnings of something, whether that was the beginning of Harris CTC, the beginning of Brit School becoming what it was, the beginning of starting Elam School in East London. The beginnings of Christian hip hop. I mean, at the time when we started, no one took it seriously, and we had to kind of battle just to be taken seriously as musicians and artists. And now I'm watching, acts like DC3 or even Stormzy, coming from Christian backgrounds with Christian themes within rap music in the UK. That did not exist.
That's
really,
true.
When we started in 1996. So I've seen that is not an accident. It is something that comes with me. I am a father as well, and not just of my own kids. I've got 2 foster children who are now 30 going 31 this year. I have been a youth worker that meant that I've ended up fathering a number of kids who are not biologically mine. And I take that point of view into the world that I live in, and I think that is that's how I would define myself, as a creative pioneer, and quite happy with that as who I am. Going on to your second question, I think that I often talk about when I was in Green Jade, we were doing some really, really powerful stuff, and we started doing the anti-gun crime school stuff and things. And by that point in time, I'd been married for about 7 to 10 years, I think. And things started to come to a head. And I remember having an argument with my missus, and she said to me, right, name one thing in this house that Green Jade has paid for. I'll wait. And I didn't have an answer for that. And it kind of struck me to my core because of everything that I'd put into it. And I want to do this for the community, and I want to do this and everything else. But I hadn't had enough of an understanding of what impact this has on my family. What do I do? How do I make this work financially? It was just all kind of these dreams of, well, maybe at some point money will just fall from the sky. And I realized that I had to be able to step up my responsibilities.
Yes.
At that point in time, didn't really like me in that sense, because it was just kind of like, oh man, you've put all of this and you've put other things at jeopardy. And but I did at least know why I was doing. And I think that that's been the thing for me, which I now consider, I didn't realize was a thing, but I have absolutely seen it. I was born with a mind that speaks positivity to me. What I realized, and I didn't at the time, was that most of the people I was coming in contact with, their brain goes, oh, I shouldn't do that. You should probably be quiet. Why are you the person in the room talking?
That imposter syndrome.
Whereas my brain goes, you're amazing. Why wouldn't anyone want to do what you're doing? Because you're incredible. Like, surely they should all bow and do and listen to everything you're saying. And it's like, I didn't know that my internal dialogue was different to everybody else's. Which I've learned over the years, and have had to kind of learn how to keep that down, because there is nothing in me going, well, you can't do it. Really? Like, all right, you've done this, you've done that. Why would you not be able to do this? Is my reset mindset, where I found that most people that I come into contact with is their reset mindset is, you're probably not capable. People are going to find you out. Don't make a scene. Don't be too loud. Like, I can't help being those things. I've had to learn how to dial that down and keep that into control. But that's how I am set up. And I've learned that that's really, really unique, of having that level of self-confidence, because it gets perceived as arrogance when you do it a lot, you show it openly. So I'm really quite proud of that fact. And I've always really wanted people to just experience their inner selves as to who they are. So I did quite a bit of work in modeling world, and very much at the beginnings of there being a plus size modeling world, and meeting a lot of women. So the average woman in the UK is a size 14. A plus size model is anyone over a size 12. Right. So essentially every normal, inverted commas, most normal women in the UK would be considered a plus size model. Right. And it was astounding for me to hear how many women who were successful plus size models had got into it because a boyfriend had been calling them fat and ugly. And it's like, that's your boyfriend. Like, why? How does that work?
Yeah, exactly.
And just this needing to overcome self-loathing and stereotypes and stuff like that. Like, I always really wanted to be able to pull that out of people for them to see the greatness within themselves, because I'm a chubby guy. Do you know what I mean? But, I'm thankfully been married for a number of years and have been in good relationships and had good friends and been able to achieve other bits and pieces. This does not stop me from being a great person. Why should that stop you? And I think that's been a really big thing for me, of wanting people to kind of really seize their inner greatness and be able to walk in it. Because why not? Why have all of these fabulous and amazing gifts and talents and stuff like that you can't use for you because you're scared?
Do you know what I realized, Wizdom? I'm sorry to cut you there for a second. I realized that a lot of people in the world, like you say, or you talk about women who have boyfriends, for example, and you're like, where does this even start?
Mm-hmm.
Where a guy or even a girl will turn around to their partner and say, oh, you're fat, or you're this, or you're that. Number one, I call it fluffy, and I like fluffy. There's nothing wrong with fluffy. Yeah. Number two, it's we're all different in the world. And if we were all the same, would we all get bored, or would it all be just the same generic thing over and over again?
Horribly boring.
There you go.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I think that we find a lot of safety in same. And as I said, because my mindset has been, I don't really care about being the person who stands out and gets talked about. Like, I don't.
Exactly
that's
that.
not something that phases me. But again, I realize that that's quite unusual. I find a lot of people want to be liked and don't know how to be liked. And as a result, they want to conform to other norms. And it's like, it's great for me. So for example, like it's great for me seeing people on a fitness journey, for example, and especially around this time of year, you've got, I began this year with this weight and now I'm this weight. And I'm cool with that. If the process is about making you happy about you.
Yes, I agree with the way you said that, because a lot of the time with them, it's about doing it to see how another person will react to them.
Yes.
Just so that they can get that one compliment of, oh my gosh, you've gone from this to this. But then it's a thing of, is a person really liking you now because you've gone slim or, lost the weight, compared to when you were bigger or fluffier, as we would say? That person isn't really liking you for who you are. They're just making you fit now in their circle because you fit, quote unquote, how their perception in their mind. That's what I mean.
And as a person who's been lucky enough to some extent to be in the inner clique without having to try, right? Because I was famous to some extent.
I get it.
I've seen people like really trying to get into our crew, and trying to find various other ways, and they never really fit. And it's generally from a point of view of really, as I say, I really want people to be able to understand what it is within your intrinsic value that's of value. And I do understand that there are certain things that if you look a certain way, you sound a certain way, you're going to have more access to. Unfortunately, that is life. But it is one of the things that has been a positive about the internet, for example, is being able to connect and find people who do share your views and do share your values and can celebrate you for who you are. Yes. And I think that's really crucial for people to be able to get around and finding your tribe of people who can celebrate you for the greatness in you.
Yeah, I always say that. I think the last thing I was going to say about that conversation was a lot of people will inflict their trauma of what's happened in their life onto you because they see you going somewhere, and inside them, because of their imposter syndrome, they will automatically throw that onto you to make you feel or think less than yourself, because they know that's what they already think of themselves. And a lot of people do that, and that happens from generations onto generations, and that's something that happens unless we decide, for example, like us, to turn around and say, no, this is a positive thing, this is who we are, this is what we do, this is how we do it. So for me, I have gratitude cards everywhere in my home. I walk around, I see them, I'm like, oh, okay, that one's a good one for today. So that's how I do it. But then your energy of your aura says a lot about you as well. So when you send that energy to other people, they'll feel it. They'll know you're in the room. They can feel whether your energy is good or bad instantly. Wizdom. Instantly. So it's so important. So I know you've done a lot more things. So let's talk about, I know you have a CIC. You started a CIC. Let's talk about that a little bit as well.
Sure. So what is now We Are Impact originally started off as Tileyar Impact.
Yes.
in 2017, and that was a joint venture between myself and Tileyar in King's Cross, which is an industrial estate, which I often describe as the factory floor of the music industry. So it's a lot of the bits that people don't see. It's the publishing companies, it's record companies, it's recording studios, it's headquarters for places like Pioneer DJ and SoundCloud, are all kind of based there in King's Cross. And I ran their community engagement. So that looked like work experiences and what else did we do? Community projects with supporting things like Cali Fest that was on the Caledonian Road, doing training, helping people get access to jobs within the creative industries. That was very much what we were doing. So we did that for 3 years, which sort of spanned the pandemic. And as sort of we went into lockdown, we would do events online, and then went back into being able to do our in-person work experiences afterwards. But unfortunately, the JV kind of came to an end, and that was the point that we changed the name to We Are Impact. And since then, pretty much was when we picked up delivering Mobo's artist development program, which is called Mobo Unsung. And again, my motivation behind the CIC was that I'd worked for a charity, XLP, for 7 years at that point in time, and kept coming across really, really talented young people.
Yes.
But unfortunately, the infrastructure around a charity meant, because we were a youth work charity, not a music charity, meant that it got to a point where we could no longer serve them. And I saw that there was an issue amongst a lot of charities who often use music and sports as a means by which they engage young people. Were coming across some really great talent, but then couldn't progress that further, or didn't have the means or the contacts to progress that further, and realized that you really need people within the industry to open the door, because usually standing on the outside knocking doesn't allow you access, not numbers that you require. So as a result, that's meant that, we it takes people to make the choice that I'm going to make these opportunities available, because it isn't often genuinely from the corporate heads down.
Yes, I agree with that very much.
An individual who has a relationship somewhere that allows that relationship to connect. And I saw that a lot with my work at ELAM. And specifically Will Kennard, who is Status from Chasing Status, who kind of really spearheaded the opening of the school alongside his brother Charlie, who went on to become the principal and had worked for Teach First before that. But what Will was doing in that first year was he was playing together, the club together in Ibiza on a Tuesday night where he had a residency, would fly back, do a music production course at the college, then do parent-teacher meetings, and then on a Wednesday, and then fly back together to do the Friday night residency in Ibiza.
Wow.
And he would do things like he would give them the actual stems to songs like Time from Chasing Status and give them the opportunity to remix them. He would, he at the time was on Universal, so advocated for Universal getting work experiences from the college. And because he was in the industry, he could make an actual impact. And I was really, really inspired by watching him do that, because I've seen people try to approach musicians and creatives to try and encourage them onto their thing for years, and it never really works long term. Yeah. But Will really modeled something that was, I'm going to show you how this is done. Then I'm going to set up people who can continue this on, but I'm still going to allow you the access, even if I'm not the person doing it on the ground. And I was just so impressed by that. That's become very much the basis of what I do. I realize with my level of seniority, I can get into places that other people can't because I'm in the industry. Yeah. My responsibility then is to educate people how to not only open the door, but educate people how to make the best way to get through the door and then to exist on the other side of it. Because if we're just pulling people in and don't show them which fork to use at the dinner table, we bring people into environments where they get embarrassed and then leave. And I think it's really important to not only create the access, but then allow people to learn how to operate in the world. Because that way we set up systems that allow people to maintain and not feel like they're complete outsiders all the time.
Another thing that I did want to ask you, is kind of tallies into what you've just spoken about, is about the importance of understanding the music business in the sense of the music business, the business side of the music business. A lot of people, like you say, are very extremely talented in the music side, in the creative side. But when it comes to the business side, understanding your royalties, having a lawyer, just the creative industry itself, to making sure, like you said in the beginning, that you can make a significant income from this. How do you feel that works for you? How do you feel that the industry is still not telling the creative people who are extremely talented enough so that they can sustain and have a good living from this?
Yeah, I education is key, which isn't schooling. Schooling and education, I think, are two different things. And I think that's what a lot of people offer education, because they didn't have a great experience of schooling. So one of the first things that I do within the Mobile Unsung program is I actually have a music industry course that's delivered by Clifford Chance lawyers. And we take 2 days to look at contracts, look at have case studies and explore what are the things around law and the industry that people need to know. Because I think that it is, if you want to make this your business, and not everybody has to, and I think that that's really, really key to understand. This can be fun, right? It can just be fun. It can just be for you. But if you want to make it your business, you need to understand how the income comes in, what your responsibilities are. We've grown up now with this narrative over the last few years, especially, that all the record companies are evil and they're all out to get you and kill you. And it's like, for a lot of people,
I have heard that a lot.
Don't understand what it is. And it's like being able to say up front, this is a commercial relationship. It's not that I don't care about you as an individual, but the point of this is that we make money. Firstly, right? That is the point of this. To make money, it requires us to be able to deliver on a regular basis, understand our audience, sell to them, and create product. Now, if you don't have the money yourself to create those products and build those systems, you need other people to come in and do that for you.
Yes.
If you don't have the money to pay those people, you need to give them a percentage of the back end. It isn't the people that are trying to rob you. But whatever you agree at this point, at the beginning, when you have nothing, is how it will progress. Unless you put in place times and spots where you will agree to renegotiate.
Yes.
So, for example, the whole thing with Megan Thee Stallion and the record label that she was with, and the whole narrative that, this evil record company wouldn't, allow her to go on and be with Rock Nation, be a superstar. It's like, no, we've invested a whole heap of money in you, which you agreed at the beginning to do X, Y, and Z to get you to that point.
Yeah.
That's why we've done it. We're not trying to be evil now. It's just you've made lots of money off the foundation that we've given you. So we want that back as an investment, because we did take the time to be able to do that. And I think that that's a really difficult thing, because I really appreciate the fact that when you go from survival to thriving, your mind approaches the world in a different way. When you're in survival mode, whoever is giving you food, you appreciate. When you're thriving, you're like, well, this isn't the same quality that I had last time. And
heck, that gratitude is lost. Yes.
right. And it's like the perspective changes. So I get it. And I understand why people feel that. So that's why I try and explain to artists what the world that they're going into looks like and why people are making certain decisions. So, for example, I remember a really young person I was working with when we were making a first music video. And I sat them down and explained to them, right, everyone here is going to want to serve you today. Mm-hmm. And the reason for that is not because you've all of a sudden become a god. It's that they simply want to be able to get the best performance out of you. So want to be able to remove any of the barriers around you, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why people will keep asking if you're okay. Do you want to drink? Are you cold? Is there anything they can get to you? Because they are trying to create the best environment possible for you to work in.
Yes.
If you don't understand that that's what's happening, and then you come away from that environment on a regular basis, like what happens to people on tour, because it's the same thing. Like everybody wants you, you come back and then people are not bowing down to you. And you do have to queue in Sainsbury's. It's like, why is this world become this way? Do you know what I mean? It's like, no, that environment is for a specific reason. And that's the education that I want to help creatives understand.
Excuse me. Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, it's great, for example, that we get thousands of followers on an Instagram, but if you don't know how to convert that into cash by selling in the right way, not just continually asking people for money, but introducing them onto a journey that they take with you, all of these kind of things. If you don't understand how to do that, it then becomes really difficult for you on the other end. Or you can see success near you, but you never quite grasp it. And that I've confined has a real effect on people's mental health.
It sure does. I've also noticed the difference between a producer, a songwriter, and an artist.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm separating them for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, when you just spoke about having to line up in a store, for example, in Sainsbury's, and you're like, what the hell? Why am I doing this? I should be the king or the queen in front. Everyone should know who I am, kind of thing. My perspective, only my opinion, find it abundantly refreshing when nobody knows who I am and I know I'm that person who wrote that song. But maybe that's because
you're a songwriter.
Exactly that. And maybe it's because I have a different kind of intellect and gratitude towards the way I work, and I enjoy my privacy. There is a difference. So when you're in the world, it might be different for a producer. I've worked with many, but everyone works in a different way. But the one thing, Wizdom, I will say is that from my perspective of understanding the world of the music industry and seeing what a lot of artists do go through, working in music publishing and so on and so forth, and having that beautiful knowledge and education within it, I've learned the best decision I've ever made is to stay as the songwriter. Mm-hmm. Because obviously I love writing and that's what I do, but you have to, what I'm basically trying to say out there to anybody, and Wizdom, please jump in at any time you feel necessary. Find what you love. If you're good at all of them, stay good at all of them. There is nothing wrong with it. If you want fame, then admit it. Say that's what you want.
Yes.
That's what you want. Yeah. If you say you want to be a producer, be an exceptional, great producer and produce. If you want to be a songwriter,
and don't try and date all the people who come through your studio.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say. That is exactly what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think I have this scale from 1 to 10 of from talented individual to icon that I use.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And the biggest jump for me is from talented individual to self-defined artist, which is number 1 and number 2.
Yes.
And I think there's a lot of people trying to have music careers who are talented individuals but are not self-defined artists. And what I mean by that is that a self-defined artist has worked out what it is they're good at, what they
Thank
enjoy,
you.
and how they deliver that to a group of people. They aren't simply just talented people. They've worked out what they are going to do with their talent. And I think a lot of pain is caused for people because they don't know what they want and why they want it. I've come across so many people who are like, what do you want? It's like, I don't want to be rich. I just want to be rich enough to, pay for my mum's house and blah, 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 blah. Like, and I'm like, and I hear it so often that it was so refreshing when there was an artist I spoke to recently. He's like, I just want to be famous. I don't care about the money. I want to be able to do major shows around the world. I want to do that. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to do that. Because they knew themselves.
Yes, I agree.
They knew what their ego wanted. They knew why they were there. They knew what this meant to them. And I really respected that. Because I have other friends of mine who really want that, but aren't willing to accept it for themselves, to say it out loud. And it was an interesting thing for me with Green Jade, for example. And it's funny, we were talking about money earlier. There's I think it's really, you can really manifest your belief over yourself, right? We as a group, the leader of the group had a song. So I had a lyric in a song, and it was, not for money, not for fame. What's the reason why we came? It's the name of God. Brother, feel the pain, right? Was his lyric. And that became the overarching theology over our group. So we did proclaim the name, but we never made any money because that was what we were confessing we were about. And I think that that's the issue for me, for a lot of people, is a lot of people don't know why they're here. As a guy who manages a number of female artists and has worked with a lot of female artists over the years, it disturbs me the extent to which producers try and date female artists, right?
All the time.
Because it's like, dude, this is a professional environment, number one. And that can't be and when your entire job is being locked in a soundproof room, often with no windows, you should have enough consciousness about you to understand that it's weird and uncomfortable if, while we're trying to create something, you are trying to come on to the artist and talent, who tends to be more attractive than normal because they're an artist.
Yes.
And they're emotionally open to you because they're making music with you, not because you are the greatest looking or the most attractive and most charismatic person of all time. And
there you go.
It disturbs me to which the extent that people don't understand this. And it's like all of these kind of things are like, what are you doing this for? What is your motivation? Why are you here? Is it because I'm really talented and I want to be able to share this talent with the world? Or this gets me girls and I don't have any confidence within myself, so therefore let's do that. Like, be honest with yourself. Again, worked in modeling, so there's a lot of photographers who are there because they just want to be around pretty girls. Like, and you're not even a great photographer. Like, for me, I think intention is so important. Intention is so important. And I now, people ask me all the time, like, would you put out more music? Are you gonna go and make a project and stuff like that? Because I'll rap every now and again because it's something I can do. I no longer need this to be the thing that makes me famous. I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it because I have a talent and I enjoy utilizing it when I do. I don't need it to be my income. I don't need it. I don't need the self-validation of it. And also I've been traumatized by putting out really great stuff that nobody listens to. So that's also another point of it, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I get that too.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, why am I here for? I am now here because I've got to a level of seniority where I understand the game. I have some experience and I'm able to convey that information that was never available to me when I was younger about how I might progress. That's what I'm about.
And that's enough said, to be fair. That is enough said. Another thing I noticed that you wrote was about legacy. A lot of people have a very different definition, especially today's generation, about legacy. Some people believe that legacy is when you're past. I don't believe that. That's not what legacy is to me. Legacy is everyday defining moments when we're alive.
Yeah.
For me, it's both of them. It's absolutely both of them. So, for example, legacy to me is having a conversation with someone, nurturing them, understanding them, someone nurturing you. Remember, it's not always one way, it's multiple ways on how we leave a legacy or give a legacy to people. Even when we have children, that's a legacy within itself. Without them even being able to talk, holding them in your arms, that's a legacy from your perception, from your point of view. What does legacy mean to you, and how do you feel that you lead on the word legacy itself?
Great question again. For me, I got a better understanding when Green Jade came to an end. So I initially, when the group came to an end, and I have to put this in the context of, I started Green Jade as from a music point of view. I mean, I joined when I was 15. From a music point of view, as a group, I think from 17 to 31, I was in the group trying to kind of make things move forward. And I came to the end of it and was like, well, what had that achieved? Like, I ain't made no huge amount of money. I ain't got, like, you know, my mortgage is still there. Like, you know, what did we do? And I was quite down on it for a while. And then I was doing some training with some young people, and I'd had a person who knew me in the group from before. And Green Jade came up, and I was a bit like, I don't know what it was about. And he stopped me and went, don't do that.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I agree with him.
Bro, no, don't do that. I am here because of people like you. Like, you were one of the people who made me understand that it was possible to take my musical talent and do something with it. You were the person who encouraged me to be able to get paid well. You were the person who spoke life into me. You opened doors. You did all of these bits and pieces. Now, I can't even remember that. That wasn't even intentional things that I was doing. But he was like, you helped an entire generation of us realize you and our worth by just being there. Don't undervalue it. And it really made me step back and go, right, what is the legacy that we have? And I started to investigate that. And then I find that, like, kids who were playing in the band in my headquarter church had gone on and become, you know, some of the best session musicians in the country, because we'd done a performance once in the church where the church didn't even like us as a hip hop group performing in. Some of the people walked out, but we kept going, and they were sitting on the stage and observed that. And that was the thing that encouraged and inspired them to keep going. Like, I didn't know these things. And then you start looking at it and you're going, wow, things are being built off of doors that we opened. And there was a word that was kind of said to us there's a US hip hop group called the Tunnel Rats. And met the guy who laid it called Dax in 1997 and 1998. We'd gone over to the US. And in 98 particular, we were invited to join the Tunnel Rats. And he said the reason why he wanted us involved was because we had the legacy of what they were doing. And that was the whole concept of Tunnel Rats was in this First World War. There was a group of guys whose job it was to go into a field and physically dig the trenches that the army was going to fight in, which effectively meant they had to stand in a field with a shovel and get shot at whilst they dug. That's what their role was. And they never got the glory of the win. That wasn't their role. Their role was to dig that trench so that the army could advance.
Yes.
We couldn't advance without them. And that very much rung with very true to me. And as I said, as a pioneer, I've realized that that's been my role. It has been to establish things and open doors that other people move forward through. So my legacy being, I created the big music project, which then went on to become Music Potential. So it then becomes crazy when I'm doing Mobile Unsung, and there's people coming through my Mobile Unsung program who are like, I was given my first opportunity by Music Potential.
Yeah.
Something you set up. And, when I'm talking, I remember I was at an event and I was talking to this kid and they were like, I went to Brit School, then I went to Elam, and then I did Music Potential, and now I'm working. No, I went to Brit School, I went to Music Potential, which told me about Elam, which then led me into a job in Universal. And I'm like, I'm responsible for your entire career. Like, you have no idea. And like those kind of things are really inspiring, that you can open those kind of doors and make those kind of differences to people. And that's what legacy to me is. It's about laying foundations. And as I say, as especially now as a parent and as a father, like what I'm trying to do is I don't own my kids. I'm trying to create an environment where they can succeed. And I think that is what legacy is to me. It's about noticing that there are issues structurally around me and trying to influence the spaces that I can to create an environment where others can succeed beyond me.
I would call you the silence of the legacy. That's what I would call you. There are many people who do many things and open many doors, like we've just spoken about, but they do it in silence. And even though you were upfront in the group of what you were doing and you felt how you did, because believe me, there are a lot of artists that felt how you did when they were doing music at your time too. But like the person said, if it wasn't for people like you kicking down those doors, opening, even when those windows were tight and you were trying to open it, but you still know, listen, you put that WD-40 in there and you open those windows to let people go through and yourself go through, we wouldn't have the opportunities now. It's like going back to when maybe our grandparents or parents came over from wherever it was to come and do things. Remember, everything starts somewhere. Everything.
Absolutely. And I was having a conversation with my missus recently about the fact that we don't always realize that a lot of the situations we're in are because of our grandparents' decisions. Not even our parents' decisions, our grandparents' decisions.
Yeah.
If my grandfather on my mum's side had said to his 19-year-old daughter, no, you're not going to England to go and be a nurse, I would not be here. Literally, I would not be here. And it is those kind of, and in a similar way for my wife, it's like if her father hadn't made the decision that, he was going to send her with an aunt to come and live in the UK, again, we wouldn't be here. Because she's got other siblings in Uganda who that decision wasn't made for, and their life is very, 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 very different from ours. Yeah. And it is, you realize that these pivotal moments and these pivotal opportunities last beyond you when you see the impact of them. And that's why, I'm trying to be really cognizant of the impact that I'm having, and why am I having these arguments with these people? Why can't I just leave the status quo and let it go the way that it is? Why is it? Well, because I've seen what happens when you don't, and I've seen what happens when you do. So if I have to take a little bit of pain and deal with why are brothers in church wearing caps so that I can see Governor B being the co-chair of youth music 25 years later, it's worth it. You know what I mean? Yep. It's worth it.
See, this is why we do this, because stories are important. They're so important. One of the questions I do want to ask you is, I never asked you this even in the beginning or in the middle, Wizdom, but I would love to know, out of curiosity now, if there was one song that was the soundtrack of your life, what song would that be and why?
Yeah. Song of my own or song of somebody else's?
Oh, you'd like to pick anything? Anything?
I think, Green Jade had a song called Goodbye, which we wrote. It's the last song on our last album. And the song for me was written on the day that we had the conversation to bring the group to an end. So I specifically put the date in the song so I would always remember February 11th, 2010. And it was then a retrospective of my entire career up until that point. Because again, I wanted to remember it. I wanted to have had it written down somewhere. And I think that for me, and then it ends up being a lot of echoes in the future for that. So it's basically February 11th, 2010, we had a conversation to bring Green Jade to an end. And after 16 years together, thank God for these friends, an amazing shared experience which made us men. We never took over hip hop for Jesus in the way that we thought, but along the road, many a great lesson's been taught. We met DJ Premier at D&D in New York. We toured Europe as Delirious, his hip-hop support. Changed the mindset of the UK Christian community. Founders of Zion Noise, still fighting for unity. Did shows at the Fridge, which ended with them suing me. Beat the case, but they never paid the $5,000 due to me. Had the studio stolen, but felt God's peace, known in black and white churches in schools promoting peace. Marcia Dixon killed guns down with one news piece. We rejected a mobile and snakes rise like yeast. It's been one heck of a ride, but for this I'm thankful. 15 when I joined, I was a right proper handful. One of the best days of my life, so what's next? After Greenbelt, Freak Stock and Flavor Fest. Did a number of music videos that raised the bar. Never made no money from it, but have a house, bike and a car. Now I've got a family and I've taken it this far. So to the next generation, here you go. Au revoir.
You know what? That's a wicked way to end the podcast. That is a wicked way to end the podcast. So from me to you, first of all, before I even say thank you for coming on the show, I would love for everyone to be able to find you, to be able to communicate with you. Where can people find you, Wizdom?
So I'm on Father Wizdom, which is spelled Farda. Wizdom, Wizdom on Instagram mainly, which is my main kind of format. But you can also find me on LinkedIn as Wizdom Layne, as Wizdom Layne. Those kind of my main places. Also, we have We Are Impact Art on Instagram as well. So I'm available. And as I say, I'm really interested and passionate about being able to help people make moves forward in what is quite a tricky landscape.
I completely understand, but a passionate one when you're creative within it.
Yes.
Definitely. Wizdom, I want to thank you so much for taking your time to come on the Us People podcast, for you being yourself, sharing your story, your wisdom, and even at the end, saying your verse for us. That was awesome. Thank you so much for taking your time, and I and we on the Us People podcast appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
You're more than welcome, guys. I want to thank you so much for listening to the Us People podcast, and please remember you can subscribe and leave us a review on any platform that you choose to listen to. Please remember you can go all the way back to the first episode of the Us People podcast, but please find an episode that resonates with you, where you feel that you can connect with. And this is the most important part, guys. I want to say thank you so much for listening. Stay happy, stay positive, and as always, please continue to be kind to one another. Take care.
I'ma get deeper. Tables are turning, world in reverse, political burning. Where is the love? Where is the hope? Where is the faith inside? It's been misplaced, power being misguided, manipulation used for both sides, unjustified violence. You living it up in your kingdom, where you're using the misguide that wants to do your killing. You should be in front line, seeing the pain, taking the blame, seeing the souls that been lost and flown away. Where's the truth? We see the lies, we see through the darkness and the blurry lines. I'm about to dive in deep. The wheels are spinning, globes in rewind, political ablaze. Where's compassion? Where's the love? Where's the love? Where's the love? Where's the love?
Cool.
All good. How was it for you? Okay.
No, it was cool. So sometimes I don't know how much I should keep talking.
How could I breathe when I see people dying on both sides? We need to do better. Shell shock, yeah, imagine that. Powers pretending they don't even have blood on their hands. Playing on both sides, you know what you did. Change the status quo, sins of your fathers. Ripple through time, we living it, breathing it. Kings and queens, mass destruction, digging mass graves, driven by the greed. You don't really care. Devil smile in my face. Your hidden agenda ain't really about peace. Your hidden agenda ain't really about love. How do you breathe and how do you sleep? I guess it's a lie you've been telling yourself.
The lies we see through the darkness and the blurry lines. I'm about to dive in deep. The wheels are spinning, globes in rewind, political ablaze. Where's compassion? Where's the love? 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 Where's the love?
Where is the love? Where is the hope? Where is the faith inside? How do you breathe and how do you sleep? I guess it's a lie you've been telling yourself. Get deeper. Tables are turning, world in reverse, political burning. Change the status quo, sins of your fathers, ripple through time, we live in it, breathe in it.